What's going on, folks? Ted from Nerd Immersion here, and continuing on the D&D Art Beyond article coverage. Some of you were asking about the backgrounds and the origins article that was released on D&D Beyond, and I thought we could go over it again. I'm going to be covering this in full detail in just a couple days, but to keep you held over until that happens, I thought we could talk about it, as it does outline the 16 backgrounds and all of the origin feats that are coming in the 2024 Player's Handbook. So again, as a reminder, if you like this kind of content, you want to see full coverage of every aspect of the Player's Handbook, you're going to want to make sure you subscribe to the channel. There will not only just be full-form, long-form videos, but I also have some shorts content that'll be tied to this as well, so be on the lookout for that coming on August 1st. Let's go ahead and dive into this so you can take a look and see what I'm talking about. So, backgrounds and origin features in the 2024 Player's Handbook. How do backgrounds work? We have this is my favorite piece of art, by the way. Anyway, your character's background is a collection of characteristics. Mechanically, your background contains 5 aspects: ability scores, skill proficiencies, a tool proficiency, starting equipment, and an origin feat. Long gone are the background features of 2024, which, while most of them were kind of situational at best, some of them were actually very well and functionally usable, like the Outlander background. I'll constantly refer to that background as the "you can't be lost in natural terrain, and you can always find food for you and up to 5 other people." Now, again, that may not be of importance to you based on the type of game you play, right? If you're not dealing with, nutrition and, finding food and that kind of aspect of survival in exploration, then it's probably not going to be very useful or beneficial to you. But if you are, that's a huge ability. And again, I would look to Tomb of Annihilation as an example, where you're doing the hex crawl and you need to have food and water and all this other kind of stuff. So, consider that. But I also feel like there's a great opportunity for us to take things from those any of the backgrounds actually prior to the 2024 Player's Handbook, because what they've done in favor of the background feature is remove the background feature in favor of giving you an origin feat, which is fine because many of us did just choose to do feats at first level as an option anyway. So it kind of makes sense that, like, in the iteration of this new kind of updated version of 5th edition, that they've kind of just accepted that themselves. So I appreciate that, but it also means that all of those cool background features that did exist are lost. But this is an opportunity for us to, one, either take those and make feats out of them, or use them to bake into subclasses, or, for example, with Outlander, that should be like a base functionality of the Ranger. Not that it would fix a lot of the things, but it would be pretty cool to just make sense if the Ranger is supposed to be this outdoorsy, survivalist type, that they have the ability to just find food for people as long as there's food to be found. And that's like a fun little simple thing, like a flavor feature you could bake into like level 1. Anyway, let's keep going. Let's talk about what each of these parts of your new background means. The Wayfarer shares some DNA with the Urchin background, but represents a larger swath of characters who have fallen through the cracks of urban society. It could be the Artful Dodger, but it also could be the Fagin. Edgin's backstory and honor among thieves has shades of the Wayfarer once he leaves the Harpers, and Mole from her gang of tiefling kids in Baldur's Gate 3 certainly fit the bill. So here's the Wayfarer background. Each background has the list of 3 ability scores. You can increase 1 by 2, or another by 1, or increase 3 by 1. The Wayfarer offers you dexterity, wisdom, and charisma. The origin feat, each background has a specific origin feat that best represents a talent your character developed while living this portion of their life. The Wayfarer background grants you the lucky feat. Skill proficiencies, you get 2 skill proficiencies. The Wayfarer gives you insight and stealth. Everybody gets a tool proficiency now. You get a proficiency in a specific tool. For the Wayfarer, it's Thieves' Tools. And then equipment. This is an equipment your character starts the game with, or you can choose to opt out of the starting equipment and start with 50 gold pieces to spend on equipment of your choice. The Wayfarer begins with 2 daggers, a set of Thieves' Tools, gaming set of your choice, a bedroll, 2 pouches, a set of traveler's clothes, and 16 gold pieces. Notice we're not referencing languages here, so it looks like we're basically giving everybody a tool proficiency, and this could be based on the updated kind of tool-based rules. They wanted to do that, but no increase to languages here. Here are the 16 backgrounds here. I'm not really going to go into what they are because you can kind of just tell some of these are reprints, right? Acolyte, Artisan, Charlatan, Criminal, Entertainer, Guard, Farmer, Guide, Hermit, Noble, Merchant, Sage, Sailor, Soldier, Scribe, Wayfarer. A lot of these are just reprints of or updates to the 2014 ones. There's a couple additional ones added in here. Here it is a little bit about using old backgrounds. Previous D&D books contain a plethora of backgrounds that are beloved by players. If you don't see your favorite background listed, don't despair. The scribes have scrawled some handy tips for converting a background from an older book to work with new characters from the 2024 Player's Handbook. When using an older background, simply select the ability scores you want to add your 3 points total to. This comes in place of your character's ability score improvements, of your species ability score improvements, I'm sorry. So if you choose an older species that has an ability score improvement, ignore it. If the background you select does not already provide a feat, you gain the origin feat of your choice. So this is interesting too in that aspect, technically. Not that this is like a huge game-breaking thing, but if you were to choose an older background that it isn't reprinted here, you would technically get that background feature and the feat based on how that would work. So like think about what is it, like archaeologist and anthropologist. I think those were two backgrounds that came from Tomb of Annihilation. I think there were some good ones, like Marine, I think was one from Ghost of Saltmarsh, and that had like you can go longer before you incur the penalties of a forced march or something. So like slight mechanical benefits, and then you would also get an origin feat of your choice. Again, not like a huge game breaking thing, and definitely not like you definitely should do this to get that extra feat and this other feature. Something to consider though. All right, and then here are the origin feats. So again, a reminder that the way feats work in the updated 2024 Player's Handbook is you have origin feats, and then you have, we'll just call them regular feats. So origin feats are the only kind of feats you can take at background or at first level or with a human species, right? So since if you were to make a custom background or whatever it would be, you would only get to pick from origin feats. And the distinguishing feature between an origin feat and every other feat is now every other feat in the game gives you a +1 to a select ability score. Whereas you remember from 2014, some feats would give you a +1 to an ability score, and then others would not. Now that is a functionality of just origin feature or origin feats. So that way somebody else isn't going to be more powerful out the gate by having boosted ability scores. So like, for example, if your background gave you a feat that gave you a +1 to an ability score, and you chose human, and that also gave you a background, a feat that gave you a +1 to ability score, you'd be functionally starting with a +2 in something. And they kind of remove that as an option so that now your origin feats just give you a cool thing that allows you to change the way you play the game, but doesn't give you any bonuses to ability scores. And this is the list of all of them here. We have Alert, which is add your proficiency bonus when you roll initiative, and you can swap initiative with a willing ally in the same combat. Now, again, this is an interesting one because you might want to come up with something else for this, because I know a lot of people do allow their players to just swap initiative as they see fit, at the start of every combat. That's just a thing that just anybody, they just like as a house rule at their table, which does take some of the punch out of the new version of Alert. Again, reminder that they did alter the way that surprise rules work. So surprise just means disadvantage on initiative. So it's not as crippling as old versions of surprise were. So perhaps you could give them advantage on initiative, but it also means that would combo with adding your proficiency bonus to initiative. So something to consider. Crafter gains proficiency with 3 sets of artisan's tools. They gain a 20% discount on non-magical items and can craft an item from a fast crafting table, which lasts until you finish another long rest. We'll talk about that more next week. Healer. When you utilize a healer's kit as an action, a creature can expend 1 hit dice to heal. Your proficiency bonus is added to the roll. When you roll to determine hit points when healing with this feature or a spell, you can reroll the die if they are a 1. So it's essentially almost giving you elemental adept, but for healing magic. So, or any use of healing, you reroll 1s. Lucky is basically the same as we saw in Unearthed Arcana. You get luck points equal to your proficiency bonus, which you do start off with 2, but you will scale up to 6, which is nice. And you can expend 1 to make a d20 test to give yourself advantage on it. Or you can expend 1 to impose disadvantage on a d20 roll on an attack made against you. Magic Initiate is here, but it has been tweaked. It now only allows you to choose a spell from the Cleric, Druid, or Wizard list. 2 cantrips and 1 spell. They must be from the same list, but you can replace them with another spell from the same list when you gain a level. Choose Wisdom, Intelligence, or Charisma. That's the stat you use for it. You can cast it once per long rest without expending a spell slot, but you can also cast it with any slots that you have. It can be taken more than once, but you must choose a different spell list each time. So part of the reason you're noticing some of these, I thought it was interesting that Bard wasn't on this list or Sorcerer. Not that there's like drastically different options here between them, but they've removed things like Warlock, Paladin, and Ranger. And the thought process is some of those classes have very cool, unique, specific spells. I guess probably the best example would be the Ranger and Hunter's Mark. Which, because Hunter's Mark is the whole function of their class feature, many of their class features are tied to that. Giving it to anybody at random kind of takes a little bit out of it. Same thing with like Eldritch Blast as a cantrip option for the Warlock. If you were to do that, you will lose out on some of the benefits of having that. So they want Eldritch Blast to be tied to just the Warlock so that not anybody at random can have it. All right, then we have Musician. Gain proficiency with 3 musical instruments of your choice. And at the end of a short or long rest, when you play your instrument, you get heroic inspiration to a number of allies equal to your proficiency bonus. So this is nice. This is one of these things they had mentioned in a very early Unearthed Arcana post video, is that they wanted to have one of these things. So like if you wanted to take the Musician feat, that's a way for you to get access to the ability to play musical instruments. But they also wanted it to be beneficial for someone like the Bard who already gets musical instrument proficiencies. You'll get more, but now when you finish a short or long rest, anybody who has this feat can grant heroic inspiration, which we talked about earlier, is the ability to re-roll any die roll. Number of allies equal to your proficiency bonus. This is also nice because this combos with something like Song of Rest, so you can do things like that. Savage Attacker, once per turn when you hit an attack target with a weapon attack, you can reroll the damage dice and use either roll. Now, again, I don't know if this is because it says you can reroll the damage dice. It says with a weapon attack, this will probably have the same confusion that it always has. Like, does it apply to Smite? Probably not now, because Smite is considered a spell, so it's not weapon damage, but Sneak Attack might, perhaps. Skilled is basically the same as it was. Get a combination proficiency in any 3 skills or tools of your choice. You can take this more than once. Tavern Brawler is pretty significantly different. Again, similar to what was in the Unearthed Arcana, though. When you hit an unarmed strike, you deal a d4 plus your strength mod. If the damage dice for your unarmed strike roll is a 1, you can re-roll it, must use the new one. You gain proficiency with improvised weapons, and once per turn when you hit a creature with the unarmed strike as part of the attack action, in addition to dealing damage, you can push the target 5 feet away from you. Again, this is another one of those things that even if you were something like a fighter with the fighting style that allows you to get unarmed damage, or a monk, the benefit is obviously like a monk or a fighter with the fighting style, you're going to do better damage than a d4 plus your strength mod. But there is the benefit that you get to re-roll the damage of, if you roll a 1 on those, you get the proficiency with improvised weapons and the ability to push somebody back as part of the unarmed strike, in addition to the damage. So you're not like giving up your damage to push them back. You can do both, which is kind of nice. A little bit here on gaining origin feats in other ways. You automatically gain 1 specific origin feat as part of your background, but you can add more in your repertoire in other ways. For example, if you play a human character, one of your species features is to get another one. You can also select an origin feat if you choose when you reach a level that allows you to get a new feat. Again, The benefit of the level 4 plus feats is that they're going to be significantly stronger. Basically, all the ones that you would know of that would be there that aren't on this list. But they'll also give you a +1 to an ability score. But you also could take an origin feat if you wanted at later levels. That's completely up to you. And then here's again a little bit about just how to choose your background, which isn't really that big a deal. So there you go, folks. That is all you need to know about or at least a little bit of insight on the backgrounds and origin feats coming to the 2024 Player's Handbook. Again, reminder, August 1st, I'll have full-blown coverage releasing, so be on the lookout for that in just a couple days from now. So anyway, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.